Page 30, Thoughts at Twilight. We've got quite a bit here, so let's just take this slow and easy, but we're going to keep talking about it over and over. So even if you don't get it up front, we're going to cover it over and over, and hopefully you'll get it, because it is important. You need to understand all this stuff. Let's go back to page 28. They're talking about half steps at the top. A half step. In our harmonic system we use, the Western Hemisphere harmonic systems we use, the half step is the shortest distance between any two notes you can have. The shortest distance possible. On a piano, it's the next key up or down, white or black. So if I have a C, I go up a half step, it's going to be here. Because it's the next key up, it's the closest to it. If I go down a half step, it's going to be here. Because it's the next key to it. That's as complicated as half steps get. That's it. And lots of steps are built on half steps. It's important you understand what a half step is. Because sometimes when the theory gets a little tricky, you can always go back to the half steps and figure it out. So just remember, a half step is the closest distance between any two notes we have in our harmonic system. If you start talking about the Asian or the India music or whatever, it could be different, or some of the African music, they have a whole different harmonic system. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our system we use in the U.S. and other countries. And I don't want to get political here, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. There are different harmonic systems used throughout the world. I'm talking about ours. Now, underneath the half step, they talk about a sharp. Okay. This is where we start using the black keys. We've been using the white keys, and hopefully you know the names of the white keys by now on the keyboard. Good grief. So now we start using the black keys. And the names of the black keys are based on the white key names. A sharp simply takes the note, the written note in the music, up a half step. Up a half step. On the piano, it takes it up on the piano, one key, white or black. That's a sharp. Sharps go up. So if I have a C, and the music needs a C sharp, then instead of the C, I'm going to play the next note up. It's a C sharp. If I have a G, and the music says to play a G sharp, well, then I'm simply going to play, instead of this, I'm going to play that. Sharps go up a half step. And that's as complicated as sharps get. That's it. Okay, then on page 28, toward the bottom, they introduce flats. Well, flats go down. Think of a flat tire or something that goes down. It goes down a half step. So if I have a G, and the music says to play a G flat, then instead of the G, I'm going to go down and play that. It's a G flat. If I have a C, and the music says to play a C flat, and there's such a thing, you run across it maybe, I go down a half step, white or black, or one note. So that is a C flat. And you're thinking, oh, it's a B. What's going on here? Well, again, I think I mentioned this. Every key on the piano, white or black, has multiple names. Now, technically speaking, a C flat is not a B. They're just a little off. But the way the piano works and the way it's tuned, we just use the B. It's close enough. So, C, C flat, or B, B sharp. It works both ways. It's like this note. Well, it could be a D sharp, now go up, or it could be an E flat, either one. See, so the white key is telling you what the black keys are, sharp or flat or whatever you need. So we're getting there. Now we're starting to use all the keys on the piano, sort of. I didn't cover the symbols for the sharps. The sharp looks like the hashtag thing. The flat looks like a B, sort of, a weird looking B. That's the symbol for it. I'll talk more about it when we get to the music. At the top of page 29, they're introducing the natural, and that is an incomplete hashtag. It's a weird looking thing. It's like a hashtag with two lines missing. And all the natural means is play the natural note, the white key, or whatever it is. So in the example, The first one, they have an F, this F, and then they have an F sharp here, and then an F natural means play here again, play that again. Or the same with the flat. It takes the flat or sharp away and you just play the white key again. That's all the natural means. The bottom of page 29, they talk about a scale pattern, a major scale pattern. Hopefully you've been doing my C major scale, so you already have this C major scale. Yeah, I've been encouraging you to do that. And the pattern is the pattern of whole steps and half steps. Each scale has a set pattern, and each type of scale has a different pattern. So the pattern is, let's just follow it through from C to C, because you can see it on the piano. The keys are laid out real nice. You can see it. You have, start on C, you have a whole step. A whole step is two half steps. Two halves make a whole. So I have a half step and a half step together make a whole step. That's a whole step. Whole steps and half steps, that's really all we talk about. We don't go bigger than that. It's just whole steps and half steps. So we have a whole step, because there's here, a whole step again, then a half step, then a whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And that is the pattern for any major scale. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Start with any note you want, white or black. Follow that pattern, you are guaranteed to get a major scale. May not know what scale is, but it'll be a major scale. It's something. For instance, let's start here. I'm going to follow that pattern up. I should get a major scale. So let's start here. Whole, whole. Remember, a whole's two halves. That's here, because there's one key in between. Then a half. Then a whole, whole. Again, one key in between, whole, half. So it's a major scale. It kind of sounds like a major scale. All the major scales sort of have the same idea behind them. They all follow this pattern. Minor scales, when we get there, have a different pattern. Don't worry about them. And don't worry about trying to remember all this right now. We're going to go over it and over and over through the lessons and all. It'll soak in eventually. We're throwing a lot at you. I really wish they wouldn't throw all this all at once like this, because it's a bit overwhelming. But they're doing it, so I'll cover it briefly, believe it or not. And then we'll cover it in more depth as we go through the pieces. I'm just kind of exposing you to it, making you aware of this stuff. Now at the top of page 30, as if you haven't had enough yet, they talk about ledger lines. I've already briefly mentioned them because we've been using them forever. You see the 5 lines on a staff and the spaces in between. Can only cover so many notes. It's like a treble clef. Well, if I take the space below the staff and the space above the top line, I've got all these notes. It covers from D to G. I can cover all these notes in the treble clef staff. The problem is I got a lot more notes. I got to deal with those. So we use ledger lines. A ledger line is that little line they use above or below a staff. Middle C, we've had it almost since the beginning. It had a little line going through it. That little line is called a ledger line. We've been using them all along. They work the same way as the lines go. It's every other note. So in a treble clef, the bottom line is here, and then the next line, and the next line, and the next line, and the top line is here. Well, if I add lines above it, that's every other note. Just indefinite. I can add as many lines as I need. And then the spaces are the other notes. Same thing going down. It works all the same. We'll get ledger lines a lot. You don't, in my opinion, need to be memorizing all these notes with all these ledger lines. And I'll explain why when we get notes with all these ledger lines. We'll get into that later. Let's look at Thoughts at Twilight. Look it over. It's 4 lines long. Treble and bass clef. Be doing my scale on C major. 1 octave up and down. I've been telling you that each time. Yes, please just be doing that scale. 4/4 time signature, we're back to 4/4 again. I see quarter notes and half notes, and I see a lot of sharps and flats in here, so we got to cover those too. Let's take it one hand at a time and make sure we got things going on. We are moving around a little bit. And they're showing you another type of fingering, which I like very much. Not everybody does, but I like it very much. And that's at the beginning. You see you got 5 E's together. All together, one after another. Repeated notes. The same note repeated 2 or more times, or repeated 1 or more times is a repeated note. And you'll notice the fingering 4, 3, 2, 1. Some people don't like this. They don't like using different fingers on repeated notes, but I am a big believer in it. It comes in so handy. I'm going to encourage you to work on this, but do it in both hands. And you use any notes you want. So here for E, I can use E. I'm going to use the same finger in each hand. 4, 3, 2, 1. Just over and over and over. Get used to it. You want to listen to those notes? Then pick a different notes. So I could go here. And use over and over and over at your speed, not mine. I've been doing this forever. Or I can come up here. You do it with a scale. You've been doing the C major scale. Do it with that. Just get used to this pattern. And there's all kinds of patterns for repeated notes. Well, this 4, 3, 2, 1 is a good one. It allows you to stay relaxed. With using the same note, same finger, you'll start to tense up. Use different fingers, you can stay relaxed. You get used to you're not really moving the hand around, you're just kind of scrunching up and you're using all the fingers together. The hand's more or less staying pretty close to the same spot. I don't really think about the hand. I'm just here and then here. And my fingers are just real close together here. And that's what they're doing here. I like this very much. Yes. So we're here at the beginning. And then again, 4, 3, 2. So we just changed hand positions. We do that a lot. Repeated notes are a good place to change hand positions when you need to. You do it on repeated notes. That's what we're doing here. It's 4. Second line, thumb there. So I want to be in position for the F. So it's second line, 5. Here, I could have done a 4 again because I just need a finger that allows me to reach the F. That's all. It doesn't have to be 5th, just a finger. Whichever. And then going on. That's good practice. Doing that. That's good practice. I like this piece. And that's basically what the right hand is doing. Now, if that's not enough, take a look at this mess going on in the left hand. Well, we take it slow and easy, one note at a time. We figure it out. You have a rest on beat 1. That's easy enough. And then here, so they want 2-1. See, normally we would be 3-1 here because you're in this position. But we have an A flat coming, so we have to prepare for it. So we need an extra finger for that note. So I'm going to use 2-1. That way I'm saving 3rd finger for the A flat. And then a G and an F. So only the bottom note's changing. The top note stays a C. And I have to use the same finger on it because it's a chord. It's a different situation than the right hand. It would be nice to use different fingers on that C, but no, we usually don't bother. It's just 2-1, 3, and that flat, that second, the A has that flat sign in front of it, and that means you play an A flat instead. And then during the rest, you come up here to the D and an F. And you'll gradually remember what that F is. It's above the second ledger line, because one ledger line above bass clef is a C, middle C. 2 ledger lines would be an E, and that's right above it. Eventually, you'll memorize that note, and you need to. It's an F just here. And then D flat here. And during the rest you come down, same kind of pattern. In second line we don't have any flats on here. They're all natural notes. So now I can use 3 in 1. Because in the second measure I need 2 here. So it's a little bit different when I don't have a black key. But in the third measure, well, I'm here, I'm just bringing the thumb up here actually. And then C sharp, and then bring the thumb down. And they say 2-5. You can use 3-5 if you like because you're here. 3's already on it. Just bring the little finger down. You don't have to use 2-5 there. It's not really. I prefer 3-5 myself. Well, I mean, why move around if you don't have to? Just here. Here. That's basically the left hand. Let's go down to the last line here. In the left hand, you're 2-4 here. So we did this because we have this F in the next measure. So we're sort of in this position. Then the last 2 measures, you're 1, and then here. 2 and 4 there on that one. It's getting a bit tricky. Yeah. Now, on these accidentals, what's an accidental? An accidental is a sharp or a flat or a natural sign that's stuck in the music, in the measure. Like you see the flats throughout here, or the sharps throughout. There's no natural signs, but the flats and the sharps are here. Those are called accidentals. Not because they're accidents, but because they're temporary. Just temporary. People don't agree on the rule for accidentals. Like everything else they don't agree on. But basically the rule for accidentals is it applies from that point where it's given for the rest of that measure and only that measure in that staff. Every staff has to have its own set of symbols. So in that first measure you have an A flat here in the third beat. Well, if I had another A in the next beat, it would also be an A flat. I don't, but if I did, it would be an A flat. But in the next measure, if I have an A there, it's an A natural. Well, I do have an A in the next measure in the right hand in the upper staff, but it's an A natural anyway because it's a different staff. So remember, these accidentals are only good from that point on for the rest of that measure in that staff. I will repeat that many times through because it's so important and it gets confusing sometimes. Now once we have the hands sort of worked out, let's see if we can get the hands together, and this is going to be a trick. Well, we take it slow and easy. Don't worry about it, even with rhythm. You forget the rhythm for a bit. Just focus on the notes. You're here. And then next beat you're here, these notes, and the next beat you're here, these fingers, and the next beat you're here, and then here. So you're just taking it one beat at a time and you're working on the notes. And in this piece you can like take it 2 measures at a time and focus on that. So it's like the first 2 measures, here, 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 here. Just take it slow and easy until they start to come. Basically, it's the same pattern through most of it, just different notes. The third measure, you're up here. Your right hand's just going to go here, but the left hand's got to come up. We have a beat rest. So it's here and then here. And then the second line, you're here. Left hand comes down. You work out the whole thing real slowly and carefully and get the notes, the different fingers working together okay. This can take a while, but it's kind of important that you get it. This is a challenging piece here. This is going to go a lot if you can get this toward getting the idea of the hands working together and doing different things. Anyway, once you have the notes and that, then make sure you have the rhythm added in. It shouldn't be too difficult here because there's a lot of quarter notes and half notes, so the rhythm's not really tricky. And we can think about the articulation, which they don't give any. Well, Here, I'm going to suggest pretty much connect it. You can't connect repeated notes. They give you words in here, and if you're looking for the phrases, you can use the words sometimes to tell you where the phrases are. If there's a comma or a period or something like that within the words, that's usually a phrase, a sentence. Doesn't have to be, but it could be. Here, it looks like we're doing two measure phrases at the beginning. Lift up, lift up, lift up, lift up. Yeah, it looks like two measure phrases. Left hand connected as best you can, and you get a quarter rest, so you have to lift up there. You can't connect these. I mean, in theory, you could connect the bottom note, but let's not get carried away here. Just go ahead and lift up. And during the rest, you come out. So basically, it's as connected as you can make it, and then lift up if you want between the phrases, every two measures in the right hand. And we can add the dynamics. At the beginning, they give you a P for piano, which means soft. You'll have to decide what soft is, but that's the melody. In this case, it's the right hand. Whatever you think soft is, it's the only dynamic in. So basically, the piece is soft. Well, once you get into it and you start feeling it, if you feel like getting a little louder and softer in other places, go for it. It's just overall, the piece is soft. This left hand is just very soft. That's up to you. Okay. You need to get it well enough that you can start feeling it. You know, add the natural accent. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It's beat 1 and beat 3, but beat 3 isn't quite as strong. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. See if you can feel the natural accent as you go through it. Otherwise, these notes are just going to sit there and go nowhere. But if you can feel this, it feels like they're going somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's like I'm headed someplace. That's all. It's part of interpreting the music. If you want to sing it, you go right ahead. I don't sing in these videos. To me, singing just makes it a little more complicated, but maybe there's somebody else around who wants to sing it. You can play the piano while they sing. I don't know. Now the speed. Moderato e cantando. Oh, isn't this nice? Moderato's in the middle. Cantando's kind of like a singing, pleasant style. Yeah. But you know what, I retard a little at the end. I felt a little retard, getting slower gradually. If you feel it, put it in. Music doesn't say anything one way or another, but in this type of music, you can do that kind of thing. It's part of interpreting the music. Let's play this together very slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. The rhythms aren't a problem, it's the notes we're after. And I don't know if you can really hear all the notes when we're playing this many. If you can really hear all the notes or not, but do the best you can. Play it one hand at a time if you need to. And let's just try it together. Give us 4 counts. 1, 2, ready, go. 3, 4. 4. 3, 4. 3, 3, 4,